And to the candidates, I want to thank each and every one of you for making time tonight to share of yourselves with all of us. This is not a debate. This is a forum and a chance for us to hear from you about what you believe, what you value, what you envision for Miami. And it is such a blessing, despite everything that's going on, for us to be able to host this forum now online. And so I hope that the internet gods bless us this evening. And I want to thank all of you for choosing to be here right now. So thank you to our board, thank you to our team, and to Nancy, who's moderating us this forum this evening. You are a true friend to all of us in Miami-Dade County, and I want to thank you for being our host tonight.
Okay, thank you for joining our first Our Miami, the People's Forum. Tonight, we hope to leave you better informed about who should be the next mayor of Miami-Dade County. The candidates already have been apprised of the ground rules of tonight's event, so I will repeat them briefly for the benefit of the audience. My questions were formulated independently by the Miami Herald, the Miami Foundation's nonprofit partners, and members of the community, perhaps even some of you who are watching now. Each candidate has 1 minute to respond to a question, with 30 seconds to refute or rebut a direct reference made by another candidate. However, there will be no back and forth, no continuous back and forth. We have a timekeeper and a mute button, which can be used to silence noise in the background, anyone who has exceeded their allotted time, or uncivil responses. On that note, please remember that this is a forum, not a debate. We urge candidates to emphasize their strengths rather than diminishing other candidates. We also expect candidates to exhibit civility toward each other, the moderator, and the audience. Our overarching goal is to ensure that we all can learn about each candidate's vision for Miami-Dade County. And one last thing, there's a first time for everything. Please bear with us through any technical glitches, much like the one I just had. I am going to dive in right now with questions. I do want to welcome our candidates. We have Monique Nicole Barley, Commissioner Esteban Bovo, Robert Ingram Burke, Commissioner Daniela Levine Cava, Ludmila Domond, Alex Pinellas, and Commissioner Xavier Suarez. And let's jump right in and get started. My first question is, why are you running for the office of county mayor? And I'm going to start with Commissioner Suarez. Okay.
I'm muted.
Okay, Commissioner Suarez, why are you running for the office of county mayor? And you and all candidates do have 1 minute to answer this.
I'm gonna have to somehow summarize my 2 minutes that I had planned, but I do wanna thank the internet gods, the Miami Herald, and the gods of those of us that are not as good with the technology for this great opportunity to be with so many folks. I have a saying that I actually quote Commissioner Monestein and give the author of the quote, which is that I think a society is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable. In the last couple of months, we've had a lot of vulnerable people in this community, and we still have some. I was pleased to do as I do, which is I'm a sort of person that gets involved all the way to the person that is suffering the most. And Friday, I was able to intervene in a situation with some of the homeless that have been removed. And I've also worked very hard to make sure that the folks that are unemployed get their forms filled out, get their compensation, get their federal subsidy, and distributing masks and doing the kinds of things that I did for the last 9 years to make this county work better. I think it can work enormously better with the resources that we have, and I expect to be talking about that during this session, this forum. And I want to congratulate all the county commissioners that are running and former Mayor Pinellas for their involvement in the last few weeks that we've had this coronavirus. I've seen them out there feeding people.
Thank you.
And helping out in all respects.
Let's go to Ms. Barley. Why are you seeking this office?
I'm running to create a better quality of life. I'm running to end corruption. I'm running to represent the underserved African American community.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Bovo?
Thank you, and hello to all the fellow candidates and those that have put on this forum together. Miami-Dade County, I believe, is in a crossroad. While we have been a place where many have come and invested, and we've seen the boom that we have experienced in our county, at the same time, we have some severe challenges. Housing, resiliency, transportation are clear goals that we need to continue to work on, and not only work on, but find solutions, not for the next 4 or 5 years, really for the next 20 to 30 years. We need to make an investment today in order to be able to bring the investments we want into our community and really develop the opportunities that we'd like. Selfishly, I want my kids to stay in Miami-Dade County, and increasingly that's becoming a challenge because the opportunities, quite honestly, seem to be fleeting for many of those of their generation. So I have not only worked on these things as a board member, as chairman, past chairman of the Board of County Commission, I've worked on these issues and I want to make them the cornerstones of my campaign. Transportation, housing are linked together, and those are also linked to our ability to be resilient far into the future. Thank you.
Very much. Ms. Demond?
Thank you for the opportunity, and I thank Miami Foundation for inviting me as part of this forum, including, I'd like to thank Miami-Dade County residents. One of the reasons that I'm running is because I truly believe Miami-Dade County needs fresh blood, new blood. Miami-Dade County is today, as of March 15, it's a new Miami-Dade County. And I'm ready and prepared to lead Miami-Dade County into the new Miami-Dade County that it is now. We have several issues as addressed by Commissioner Bovo: transportation, affordable housing, increasing living wages. And I'm definitely one that can say that I'm ready to be right next to the residents of Miami-Dade County to lead into the betterness that it's looking for.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pinellas?
Nancy, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. You know, for me, it's all about service. It's about giving back to this community, a community that's been very good to me and my family. That wasn't the case before. I mean, before politics was my career, and it was about ascending in politics. I have zero interest in returning to a political career. My interest in running for mayor is to serve this community, to offer those experiences that I had for 17 years, managing every imaginable crisis in this community, coupled now with 16 years in the private sector. I offer that body of work to the people of Miami-Dade County. And for me, what's happened in the last 2 months really has provided a lot of clarity as to why I seek this office in this particular moment. Because I think that what we need is bold leadership, someone who's not concerned about the political consequences of his or her decision, and simply will do what's necessary and right for the people of Miami-Dade County. And that's what I offer. That's what I offer the people in this particular election for mayor of the county.
Thank you very much. Ms. Levine Cava?
Thank you very much, Nancy. Good evening. I'm Daniela Levine Cava, and first, thanks to the Miami Foundation, the Miami Herald, and the community organizations who put on this forum. But more importantly, thanks to the frontline workers who are out there every day during this crisis. We owe them an extreme debt of gratitude. And I come before you today with 40 years of Miami-Dade County leadership experience in social services and economic development. It has prepared me to effectively deal with the crisis that confronts our community today. It matters deeply who you, the voters, choose as your next mayor. It matters what background and experience your next mayor brings. It matters that you have a choice as to the person with the most commitment, someone who has the ability to solve the problems that many have said are insoluble. Integrity and transparency matter now more than ever in this mayor's race. As we heal the hurt, we comfort the anxious, and we rebuild shattered businesses. As mayor, I will be building coalitions, lifting up every sector. I am someone who has demonstrated with conviction and compassion that I can lead boldly through the hardest times that now confront us in modern history. That's my track record over 4 decades, and I am ready to lead as your next mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Burke, who is joining us by phone. Mr. Burke, can you hear my question?
Talking to you.
I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance. He is having difficulty. We will come back to him. I'm going to move on now. COVID-19 likely will have a huge and negative impact on the county's tax rolls and therefore its revenue. How will you recommend making up for the shortfall and the extent of which is yet known? Commissioner Bovo?
Thank you. How long for us to answer the question? I'm sorry.
A minute for all of the questions. We have so
Okay.
many questions and so many candidates. We do want to make sure
Thank you.
that everyone keeps it tight.
Thank you. So I think this is really going to be the biggest test that not only does the next mayor, the next Board of County Commission, and really not just this year, but the following year. This is going to be the biggest challenge. We are going to have to be able to reconcile and balance our budget. I would remind everybody that we're not the federal government and we cannot spend freely. We can't print money. And our only options really then becomes either tightening our budget, turning to the federal and the state government for help, which I believe is critically important. We need to be able to use, and I will use my contacts at both state and federal level to help us absorb as much of the hit that we are getting at this point. But make no mistake, the local budget will have to be tightened. We will have to examine our budget and reprioritize what is it that our taxpayers send their money to us to do. And we have to be mindful. It's the business owners and homeowners of our county that are the ones that majorly fund our budgets. And they expect a certain amount of service that we need to be able to fulfill. Further going away from that core mission that we have only jeopardizes our ability to function as a local government. So I believe it's a combination of making sure that we're frugal with the money that we have, that we spend it where we need to spend it, and at the same time work with our state and federal partners to make sure that we're as whole as possible. Thank you.
To follow up, do you see the possibility of either raising property taxes or raising the millage?
I am not in favor of raising the millage or property taxes. I believe that our budget construct has to be able to assume and live and represent what our residents can afford. Government cannot go beyond the means of what our residents could afford. So therefore, I think really we do have to rely heavily on the federal and state government to help us through this issue. This was a statewide, nationwide pandemic. And I would tell you, every local government will be facing the same problem.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Demond?
COVID-19 in the situation that we're having right now. So what your question is how we're able to move forward as far as financially or economically, economically, definitely budgeting is a priority. But one of the things I want to look at is every penny matters. We are not in a position as Miami-Dade County, we're a local government, as Bova mentioned, we're not in a position to waste money. So we really do, for me, what I would definitely do is to get the proper experts on board with me, because I'm not an expert in this field. So get the proper experts on board with me to assist in leading Miami-Dade County out of the hole that it's in. As far as raising county property taxes, definitely that doesn't work for us. We're looking for affordable housing, and increasing our living wages to increase our property tax would not help us. So right now for me, definitely budgeting and making sure what Miami-Dade County needs to get us out of this hole. One, slowly letting Miami-Dade County know we are free at this time. Therefore, it is okay for us to slowly get back into work. As of today, we were 25% of Miami-Dade County open. That's great for the economy, for Miami-Dade's economy, because we're able to now work. We need to go back into work. And I want the people to understand we are not in a position to be in fear. We are ready to move forward and get our lives back.
Thank you very much. Ms. Barley?
Yes, hi. So our job as a county mayor is to present leadership, to show leadership. With the COVID-19, as the previous candidate just mentioned, we have to work closely with the experts, but because we're not experts, we're just the leaders who's going to lead our constituents into the right directions. So what I would done if I was the county mayor, I would have placed the UV lights in the hospitals, in our local hospitals. And I also would have sanitized the streets as well. So, you know, that will limit the virus from mingling around into our county.
Okay, Ms. Barley,
I can't hear you.
it's about the county's finances. And if you could just take 30 seconds to ask how you would make up for the budget shortfalls that lockdown is sure to bring to the county's finances.
Hold on one second. One moment.
Okay, if you'd like a minute, I can move on. Okay.
Sure, go.
Mr. Suarez? You're muted again. Commissioner Suarez? Okay, Commissioner Danielle Levine Cava?
Thank you, Nancy. First of all, we are fortunate because we have some massive relief bills coming from the federal government. So Miami-Dade County is very fortunate that we're going to recoup a lot of our expenses. Hopefully all the meals, the 2.5 million meals plus growing that we've been providing, the food distribution, purchasing food from farmers, the testing, hopefully these things will be covered largely by federal dollars. And so we also are blessed that in this coming year, the property tax revenue has already come in. So we're really looking at the 2021 budget as one that will experience a great potential downturn. And we have time now to get our economy back going. You know, as we reopen, the important thing is to inspire trust. We have to follow the guidelines of the testing and the tracing and the isolation, and watch carefully for any spikes. We need a chief medical officer, someone to guide us through this process, because only then will people vote with their feet. Will they come to the businesses? Will tourists return? Tourism is our lifeline. So we need to inspire that kind of confidence so that we can rebuild our coffers. And we also need an innovation economy. You know, many of the businesses have already shuttered. We know not as many restaurants will be left standing when all of this is over, not as many hotels. So there are people with skills and innovation, and they can pivot. We need to have an innovation fund. I'm sponsoring tomorrow at the Board of County Commissioner meeting some funding for rebuilding our local businesses. Just like the federal program, we'll have a local program, but we need to also have an innovation economy to move forward.
Mr. Pinellas.
Sure. So Nancy, I think the question was, how do you balance the county budget under these extraordinary circumstances? Something I did 8 times as mayor, including one time after the 9/11 aftermath, which presented a lot of parallel situations to what we're facing now. And I think a careful analysis of the county budget requires you to look at proprietary departments separately and differently from general fund supported departments. Because obviously property tax will most impact your departments that depend on property tax dollars for operations. Interestingly, on the revenue side, the federal government so far has been generous. Over $200 million has been allocated for lost revenue at Miami International Airport, over $200 million as well for Miami-Dade Transit. And that's an interesting deviation from what happened years ago, where typically FEMA, when they were in charge of a lot of these crises, would only reimburse local communities for actual expenditures in response to a crisis, as opposed to what's happening now, where lost revenue is part of the equation. We need to take advantage of that. As the 5th, 6th largest local government in the United States, we need to form coalitions with similar local economies in this country, many of whom are also dependent on tourism and hospitality for their economies. We need to form those coalitions to make sure, as the federal government is looking at a 3rd or 4th relief bill, that we have specific assistance for industries that are directly impacted by our local economy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burke, are you available now?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. The question was, did you hear the question? It's about making up, how you would make up as mayor for the shortfall in the budget caused by COVID-19. Mr. Burke? Okay, we might have lost him again. Commissioner Suarez, are you with us?
Yes, and I obviously angered the internet gods when I said something about them at the beginning of this. I did not do this on purpose so I could hear what Alex said or Daniela or Bobo. Your question is a very important one. I spent most of yesterday going over no less than 80 revenue charts of the county. One of the first things we have to do, by the way, is to simplify the county budget. It makes no sense to have 80 different revenue catalogs in the county. Commissioners and Mayor Pinellas, who said that the federal government has been generous, are 100% right. The departments that have been hit the least are the ones in which federal monies are coming in. The airport, for example. And of course, in the case of Jackson Memorial, we have assigned a letter of credit of $150 million for their shortfalls. The general departments of the county, the ones that are supported by ad valorem taxes, by property taxes, are not going to do that bad. Okay. Interestingly, Jennifer Glazer Moon expects a 5.5% increase for next year in terms of the tax base of the county. And of course, this year we're basing it on January 1. The total impact so far, the best estimates after going through the 80 pages of revenue calculations, is that we're going to have about a $250 million shortfall. $250 million is about 5% of our operating budget. And believe me, the county bureaucracy is bloated way beyond 5%. So we should not have to reduce any services. In fact, the 400 people that Mayor Jimenez has assigned to monitor people and supervise people and police people in the parks, which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Okay, Commissioner.
Driving neighborhood circulators and picking up other jobs in the county.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Burke, are you there? I do.
Yes. Can you hear me? You know, I'm out west, so I'm having a problem out here with the weather in the mountains.
The mountains. Okay, I understand. Please, can you just talk briefly about how you would make up for the shortfall in the county budget because of the damage done by the coronavirus?
Well, there are going to definitely have to be some cuts, and we're going to have to try to minimize the effects of the cuts. But the budget will have to definitely be slashed, and I'll be looking in areas where the budget can be slashed.
Okay, thank you. I am going to direct this particular question to Mr. Pinellas. However, I am then going to broaden it so that everyone has a chance to answer. And this is about transportation. In 2002, Mr. Pinellas, you pushed through a half-cent sales surtax that has raised at least $3 billion for a transportation project. You've also been criticized for its failure to make big ticket projects such as Metrorail's North Corridor a reality. You blame your successors for misspending funds. Did you promise too much in 2002?
Absolutely not. And if you recall, the purpose of that proposal was to have a dedicated funding source so that we could leverage state and federal money. At the time, the federal government was sending most of its resources to communities like Boston, New York, Denver, and other communities around the country. And we were not in line for any of that support because we didn't have a local dedicated funding source. So the thought and the suggestion by some that half penny alone was going to fund all of the programs set forth in the proposal was not true. In fact, you may recall, Nancy, that the Miami Herald, other leading institutions in this community, the Miami Chamber of Commerce, the Beacon Council, so on and so forth, pushed hard for that dedicated funding source. And in fact, we got off to a fantastic start when I was mayor. We instituted the Golden Passport program for all seniors over for free transit over 65. We expanded our bus service by almost 12 million miles. And the last expansion of Metro Rail was approved under my administration, which was Arlington Heights station to the MIC. What unfortunately has occurred, and I hope this question is asked of some of the other folks on this panel today, is that that money was grossly misspent, basically to balance the county budget. I made the hard decision. I took the politically incorrect position to ask voters to tax themselves. I foresaw the traffic mess that we've had in this community for the last decade plus. And I put together a 30, 40 year living, breathing document that was meant to not only deal with the transit issues of the moment, but moving forward. I think the question now needs to be asked, including to some of the other panelists here today, why has that money been consistently used for operations and maintenance of the old system when that is exactly what we told voters we would not do?
We're going to move on. Thank you. I do want to expand the transportation issue to everyone. Residents, as I said before, in Northwest still want Metro Rail extended up 27th Avenue to Broward County. In South Dade, bus rapid transit versus rail is still open to debate, and everyone is sick of traffic. In addition, public transportation is experiencing massive losses in riderships and revenue because of COVID-19. How will you ensure that Miami-Dade Transit makes a strong recovery? If people continue to work from home, ridership will continue to decline. And I just want to say that is a question from one of the Miami Foundation's partners. Commissioner Levine Cava.
Well, we are given a little space because the federal government has covered our transit costs through 2021. So that gives us an opportunity to get it right. And you know, Nancy, people will still have to ride transit. Obviously, people are afraid right now of social distancing, of the hygiene issues, but many people are transit dependent. Now, I ride Metro Rail because it takes me from where I am to where I want to go, but I'm a choice rider. I have a choice. But so many people don't. And especially right now in the pandemic, our healthcare workers, they're commuting to Jackson by train and bus, and they have no choice. They are riding that train, and we deserve that. We owe it to them, and they deserve to have a highly functioning system that gets them there efficiently, effectively, and safely. So I have been dedicated since I came into office 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, to improving our transit system. I have fought for the South Dade Metro Rail expansion, which unfortunately was not achieved yet. I have supported the North Dade expansion. I've supported the People Mover extension to Miami Beach and all of the corridors in the SMART plan. And back in 2008, the federal government told us, 2008, that they would not give us $700 million in federal funding for the North Corridor because we had not invested enough in our existing transit program. So that was a legacy of a prior administration. That is how we blew it and did not get the money that we needed for that corridor at that time.
Commissioner, you said that you do support the south extension of Metro Rail. Did you originally support bus rapid transit?
No, Nancy, I actually learned about bus rapid transit. I thought it was worth examining, and I said, we're going to study it. We're going to listen to what the engineers told us. And in fact, what they showed us through that study, which by the way was never completed because the mayor was in a big hurry to get in a grant proposal under a certain amount of money. But what it showed us was that the train, while it would cost much more, would have produced many, many more riders. So it would have been a very wise investment. It was also said we didn't have enough money for it, but we're instead spending that money, for example, $76 million that went into building a Brightline station in Aventura, which will not serve our transit riders. It's not a commuter service. So it's clearly a matter of priority. South Dade deserves that south train just like the North Corridor does.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dumont, public transportation, making it work?
Definitely. I heard Daniela Cava say she uses the Metro Rail, so that I can applaud, because What I think we're doing here as people or leaders is that we attempt to promise the residents of Miami-Dade County what we cannot deliver. And Miami-Dade County residents are not fools. When we talk about public transportation or any type of transportation, we have to actually look at ourselves and say, do we actually ride the public transportation that we're attempting to put policies out in order to get the people to trust in us? So with public transportation, what we need to do is open it up. Living in New York, I know what it is to actually use the train, the bus, and not be ashamed to do that. Right now, you have the residents of Miami-Dade County feeling like it is a shame to use public transportation. You know what? You can jump on the train, on the bus, and go to the beach. You can enjoy that. We need to bring it back and allow the people to see that it is not a shame to use public transportation. It is not a shame to take it to ride to Aventura Mall to shop or go have a $200 dinner that some people spend on. It's okay to use our public transportation. And I feel that our leaders right now need to actually stand out and show that so that the people can begin to trust. Kava mentioned regarding trusting. But in order for the people to trust, you actually have to show actions. And that's what people are looking for.
Thank you very, very much. Commissioner Suarez. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear.
I think we have the key. We have the key. Well, I just did the calculations this morning, or I looked at them. We are going to lose, we're going to go from $100 million of revenues to $40 million of revenue for the coming year. And therefore, my idea of having free public transit makes all the more sense. It's a little less than 1% of the entire county operating budget. As to the expansion of Metro Rail, as we should have done, including not BRT, but rail down south, which I fought for. Pinellas made two mistakes. The first mistake he made was not issuing those bonds right away. It took the city of Miami less than 2 years, a year and a half, to get their bonds approved after by the court. Those bonds should have been approved right off the bat and should have been for capital improvements. The Golden Pass is the second bad precedent, not to let the folks use the system for free, the older folks. That's a great idea, but you don't have to take money, $25 and $30 million every year, and put it over on the operating side as they began doing under his administration. Since then, we have wasted $3.4 billion, the money that has gone to operations instead of capital improvement.
Okay, Mr. Pinellas, you have 30 seconds. Do you want to rebut these comments?
Well, we did issue bonds immediately for the MIC extension, again, from Arlington Heights to the MIC. Again, that's the only expansion of Metro Rail that we've seen. And it was done under my administration with a $100 million matching grant from the state of Florida. And let me mention that I too very much support the South Corridor. There's technology now, light rail, that would allow it to be seamless with the current Metro Rail system. And regarding North Corridor, Nancy, when I left the mayor's office, by the way, in 2004, not in 2008, let me correct that. When I left the mayor's office in 2004, the North Corridor was set to be operational by 2012. So the real question needs to be what happened. And the real answer is the money was taken for operations and maintenance because people didn't have the courage to make the difficult decisions. They didn't invest in public transportation the way they should have. So as the deficits in that department grew, it was easy to grab the money over here. And I'm super mad about that. The public's mad about that because, like you mentioned, over $3 billion has been raised by that half penny, and we have very little to show about it. Yes. And that was one of the main motivations for my decision to run for office again.
Commissioner Bovo.
Thank you, Nancy. Since I've joined the Board of County Commission in 2011, there's been no other commissioner that has worked harder on this issue of transportation and trying to create a solution. I discovered a couple of things very quickly. Number one, there was not enough money to be able to fulfill all the promises that were being made. One of the failures of the half penny campaign was that they Not only did they overpromise, they have to buy a lot of votes that compromise a lot of the money. Cities had to be on board, so we had to pay off the cities with 20%. The seniors were given free rides. They didn't ask for it, but it was given to them as a way to making sure that they voted. We promised an expansion of a bus system, and we did that, but nobody was using the bus system, so we had to contract it. You know, it was multiple failures, and it all comes to roost when I became the chair of transportation and had a simple question. If the voters had asked for an expansion of Metro Rail and given themselves a half penny, then why hadn't it been done? Yes, there was some mistakes made before I got on the board. There was board members that, in order to try to patch up budgets, similar to the education and Florida lottery, they moved money around and they started commingling money. That probably doomed any kind of mass expansion in the future. But the problem was that there was an overreach. There was a promise that could not be made. And I have said this many times before, there was a quagmire in decision-making by the board, because for the first time, corridors became issues of ethnic politics. Who goes first, north, south, and no one could make a decision. Now, I will tell you, none of these corridors touched the district that I represent. So I came without portfolio, hoping to find solutions to our community. I have been able to support bus rapid transit to the south as a mean to getting to rail, because as many of my colleagues have talked about wanting to support rail down south, the reality is we couldn't do it alone. You needed federal funds. And in order to get federal funds, you needed ridership numbers up to 35,000 people per day. We're at 17,000 in the South Corridor. The problem is that ridership doesn't come without density. And many people in the South don't want to see development along the corridors. But density and ridership go hand in hand. It's the same thing in the South as it is for the North and it is for the West.
Thank you very much. Ms. Barley, public transportation and making it work for this community.
Can you hear me?
I think, go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So first and foremost, I do support the rail going further down south. That was promised to the constituents. And also, if Arthur Till was able to go to the federal government to bring funding down for transportation, I believe that someone as mayor can do the same thing as well. Commissioner Levine Carver stated that she's a transportation or transit rider by choice. But to my understanding, she never rode the rail, so she wouldn't understand the need of the constituents that live down south. She wouldn't understand that they really need the rail to go further down south. She got on the train just for picture purposes. So for what I'm saying is, we need to go to the federal government, bring the funding here so that we can give the constituents what they asked for and what was promised.
Thank you. Commissioner Levine Cava, do you want to take 30 seconds to address the
Yes, thank you so much. I do want to say that I ride the train when there's a lot of traffic and also when it's convenient. And that's what makes me a choice rider. And I recognize that so many, tens of thousands of our residents, hundreds of thousands, really do not have that same choice. That being said, I am a regular Metro Rail rider because I get on at Dadeland North and I get off at the government center, and it's extremely convenient when I work in county government. And so do many, many county employees and Jackson employees and downtown employees and the like. But again, that's the same kind of convenience that we need to offer throughout the county, and we do not have. And that is the commitment that I make, to accelerate those efforts so that everybody can get to work on time instead of being second-class citizens.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Burke, are you there?
So I am.
Okay, transportation, making public transportation available for county residents.
Yes, I too am a public transportation rider. I think originally when the Metro Rail was first put up, I thought it should have come all the way straight down 7th Avenue, with branching out to west and also going south as far as it could go, probably to 152nd Street.
Okay.
Originally, when that was done, I thought that they missed that.
Looking
I'm
forward.
sorry?
Let's look forward. What do you think needs to happen to make it work as currently configured?
Well, if the if the public is paying that penny tax, they've got to use that money for what it was actually purposed for. And I think that was totally misappropriated. And I think the people that misappropriated need to pay for that. So that's the first thing that needs to happen in order to recover and use the money what it was purposed for. I believe in the expansion, and I think it just was done wrong. Taking the money and depleting the money, which is a waste of $3 billion. And I don't know how you recover that.
Understood. Thank you very much. County Commissioner Barbara Jordan's well-intentioned efforts to provide workforce housing in this county, a county that has one of the starkest income gaps in the country, but attempts to make developers set aside either funds or affordable units for our workforce have gone nowhere. Commissioner Bovo, the community thinks this is an important issue, yet you have voted against the fund initiative. Do you think it's important? And if so, as mayor, how would you make workforce housing available? And I'm directing this to Commissioner Bovo, but this will be opened up to everyone else.
Thank you, Nancy. Yes, I have voted against any kind of mandate or force legislation that would not really lead to the solutions that we want. I do think that workforce housing is a critical component. Quite honestly, I believe so strongly in it that I believe that transportation and workforce housing really go hand in hand. It is our best path in order to incentivize more development is that we do it first and foremost near our transit corridors. Number two, I think we could give density credits in allowing through those density credits units that we could then use, but not force it. In other words, give it as an option. Furthermore, I think we should be bringing utilities, normal expenses that a developer may have to incur to the property. The less burden that we could put on the actual development of the project, the more that we could then sit at the table and negotiate with the developer to get units that could be categorized as workforce housing. Unfortunately, all the legislation that we've dealt with at this point that came out of our Board of County Commission was to basically force developers to do something. And it's never really worked. And I have consistently voted against any methods where government overreaches and starts dictating to the private sector what to do in order to be able to solve some of the goals that government has set up. Now, I do believe that this is a critical issue, and we do need to make sure that folks in our community have adequate housing. If not, there is no South Florida dream. But I think it needs to be more comprehensive than just telling developers how to do it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mullen.
Create the incentives.
I just want to comment on this is that majority of the mayor candidates on here do have public experience. So I am fresh into this, but definitely as a newcomer, but one who lives in Miami-Dade County, I do understand the need of Miami-Dade County for affordable housing. You know, one of the issues that we have is we have people that, you know, from New York or from South America that can afford, that are coming in, that's actually increasing the cost of housings in Miami-Dade County, while the Miami residents, their income isn't necessarily increasing to afford the housings that are now increasing because of, you know, the snowbirds coming down who are able to afford a house. So
that's a given. How
yes,
would you provide affordable housing and workforce housing?
I think, again, one of my things is looking at is working with the experts and seeing how we can provide affordable housing. If I was to tell you that I can give you an answer right now, I would also be overpromising the people. And again, Miami-Dade County residents are not fools, and I'm not going to overpromise, but I would definitely work with the experts to see what we can do to make affordable housing for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Suarez, unmute yourself.
Okay, there we go. Thank you for the suggestion. I'm getting this. Let me say this, 62% of the people in Miami-Dade County are spending more than 50% of their disposable income on transportation and housing. I already gave an idea of how to solve the problem of transportation. I didn't mention, by the way, that we need to get rid of the tolls and make sure that they don't increase in the future, or that we charge people more for using the fast lane. That makes no sense whatsoever. But on housing, Commissioner Levine Cava and I have steadfastly supported the efforts of the People Acting for Community Together, PACT, to spend no less, actually we tried no less than 1% of our budget this year, would be another $50 or $60 million. The one year that we did get a resolution through, the two of us and some help from some of the other commissioners, it was reduced to $10 million, and it was based on money that would come in or not come in. By the time mid-year budget showed up, we got $327,000, enough to build maybe 2 units. We're getting about $50 million from the federal government every year. The mayor exaggerates and does not tell the truth when he says that we have $250 million for the coming year. That's because we haven't spent the other 4 years worth, and we have accumulated this money. We need at least another $50 million a year to be able to really, really have an impact on the affordable housing situation. In other words, we need to double our efforts. And in the Housing Committee, we put together a trust fund that is beginning to gain a little bit of strength. One other thing that we need to do, we have 4,500 properties in the county. How come every time somebody wants to put a sports stadium somewhere, some open land shows up? And yet, I have proposed that we divest ourselves of any land that we don't need, any properties that we don't need. There's no need for 4,500 properties. So if the land cost is zero, okay, and if we have the extra 50 million from general revenues and the 50 million from the federal government, we can do what our committee decided that we're going to try to do as a goal, headed by Commissioner Moss, the Housing Committee, which is begin to do 12,000 units in the next 5 years. The city of Miami is doing a similar amount, so we'll make a dent on what the need is, which is 100,000 units.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Pinellas?
See, having been in the private sector for the past 16 years, I actually know the difference between a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement. I've actually underwritten many development deals specifically in the affordable and workforce housing space, which has been some of my primary interests over the last decade and a half. And based on that experience, I would offer 4 important points if we're to successfully, I'm sorry?
Just quickly.
Yeah, it's difficult to talk about all these complex issues in 1 minute, but nonetheless, we've got to focus on the existing stock of affordable housing units, because we talk a lot about new units, but folks like me own hundreds and hundreds of existing units, and we're losing those units to foreign investors. And that's a serious problem, because once those properties trade hands and they're bought at the height of the market, they no longer are affordable by definition. Number 2, we need less focus on money and more focus on the most important asset that we have in government, which is land. When I've underwritten these deals, the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per door cost just on land acquisition makes these deals by definition unaffordable. Number 3, from a regulatory perspective, we could do a lot in upzoning along transit corridors and also lowering the parking requirements. Why do we need 2 parking spaces per unit if we're building a affordable or workforce housing development on a transit corridor? And number 4, we need to move these projects to the top of the permitting process. So again, I have a lot of ideas on affordable and workforce development. It's a space where I've spent a lot of time. And by the way, I've done so without government assistance. So the thought that you have to have government involved, I've learned this, that there's a lot that could be done with public-private partnerships. Government is not the solution to every problem, okay? But you got to be in the private sector to understand that. And that's the kind of governance model I will bring back as mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Barlett?
Yes. So my question is, I have a question. So basically, we're going to go from workforce homes, we're going to skip over public housing. So you're going to take away public housing to create workforce homes for our constituents, which it will be unaffordable for the underserved families, for the families that make minimum wage. So I don't want to speak on a new project until I see that we are able to handle our public housing. Public housing have a program called the Self-Sufficient Program. If you have people like Commissioner Dennis Moss, Commissioner Edmondson, if you have them taking away public housing, then my focus is not on the workforce homes. My focus is on public housing. Why take that away to build a new project when we did not keep that project the way it's supposed to, or that project was not ran the proper way how it's supposed to?
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Danielle Levine Cava.
Thank you. First of all, housing is infrastructure. And like Commissioner Suarez said, we are failing in this department because people are spending at a higher rate on housing than virtually any place in the country. So this means that we can't keep our workforce. It means that we can't attract those who are graduating from colleges here and would like to stay. And it means that people are working multiple jobs. One job should be enough. So we have to do all of the above. We have to have surtax reform. We've got a wonderful surtax program. We've not been able to get some of that money out the door. And we need to, for example, use some of it to prop up the existing affordable housing that's aging out. We cannot allow these properties to go to market rate. We have to maintain through investments in rehab and whatnot, using these dollars so that we can keep at least the quantity that we have. And we have to reduce red tape because time is money. The permitting process takes too long. The cost of construction is too high. There's form building that's possible. There are all kinds of ways of building in efficiencies. And finally, when a developer gets a benefit from the county, increased density or use of county property or some other benefit, that is when we can condition it on the kinds of things that also will benefit. And mixed income housing is really the best solution because private developers know how to use some of the higher end to subsidize the lower end. That is the best solution of all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burke, we're talking about affordable housing and how to provide it.
Yes, I'm in agreement of not touching public housing. I think we're headed for actually rent controls like California and New York and other places. I think rent controls might be an option in order to make the housing somewhat affordable and controllable.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from a member of the community, Linda Smith of Opelika. She wants to know, what is your criminal justice plan, especially as it pertains to stopping gun violence and racial profiling by police? Mr. Maul?
Definitely. I think we need to work together with our community as well as the police. Because I, as a Black woman in Miami-Dade County, should not be afraid to talk to the police, and I'm not. But at the same time, the ability for us, for me, if I am the mayor, if I am the mayor, is bringing the police together with the community and to show both sides how to actually work with each other. It is enough and it's tiring to have this conversation over and over and over regarding trusting the police and allowing the community to see that the police department in our judicial system is here for the people. But we need the police force to know that they are here for the people and that with the gun, it does not allow you the right, it doesn't give you the right to use that authority to scare the people. Miami-Dade County has a diverse ethnic group, and we all need to be included when we say, I'm going to run down the street and I will not be shot by anyone. So I definitely am one because I have a 16-year-old Black boy that I want to make sure that by the time he gets to my age, that he feels like I belong here in Miami-Dade County. And I don't want to raise him to feel like always looking out and to be afraid. No, I want him to know that our police department is here for him.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Commissioner Suarez.
Sometimes we have to act after the fact, unfortunately, as was the case with Dr. Armin Henderson. And I congratulate you for the beautiful editorial about the work that he's doing with the homeless downtown. As soon as that incident took place, I made sure that the mayor of Miami and he talked, and they're actually working together since that incident. And so are we with Dr. Henderson. He was at my last meeting with the county commission. He was actually with a DDA, virtual meeting. He was with me in Coconut Grove, in my Coconut Grove office. One other thing that I've done is police need to get used to being with some of the young people in the community. And for that reason, when I had an intern, actually was a full-time employee, Sarah Odio, we put together a police youth dialogue program that has become a model for the nation. Police and young people in the same room talking about their issues. Sometimes they haven't done that. And any police that's on patrol, any police officer that's on patrol should go through a police community dialogue, particularly with youth, to get to know what they're thinking, how they're afraid of police. It's amazing the fear that some of these young people have of police, and frankly, the fear that some of the police have of some of the young people. And that can be solved in that fashion. We do have the makings of an independent review panel in the county, and Commissioner Cava and I have voted for it, whether you have subpoena powers or not. The important thing is that the public officials be attentive to anyone that strays from the fold. And that's why I intervened in that particular case. And I'm very
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bevel?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's been a lot of robust efforts to make sure that we improve relationships within the community. You know, I think of the Blue and Brown program that we have with collaboration between the City of Miami and the Miami-Dade County Police Department that has led to some success. Circle of Brotherhood, which initiated a hunger strike to call attention to gun violence, and a program, quite honestly, with the Circle of Brotherhood that takes personal responsibility within their own neighborhoods. And I think that's incredibly important. In many instances, when we talk about issues in our community, one of the things that we don't want to admit to is personal responsibilities. And listening to Ludmila speak about, you know, a 16-year-old son. You know, I've got a 10-year-old boy, and I would be fearful if I was in her shoes that my son could not perhaps walk in the street safely and be fearful having to look over his shoulder. But I think in many instances, one of the things that happens is that we walk away from the personal responsibility. There are individuals in neighborhoods that want the same things that they want all over our county, all over our state and nation, really, is the opportunity of being able to live peacefully, have opportunities. You know, we need to make sure that some of the economic opportunities that grow in our community are invested in neighborhoods that give young people in those communities hope that, you know, that something's beyond, you know, that they could be the next doctor, they could be the next business owner in our community. You know, I made this a priority when I was the chairman, and I thought it was critically important because for far too long, we have seen young people in our community never fulfill their potential because they've been brought down by gun violence. But at the same time, we have seen gun violence in communities where nobody saw anything. No one came forward to speak to the police department. No one came forward to speak to prosecutors to make sure that those gun people, those that were pulling the trigger, were prosecuted. And that speaks to perhaps a fundamental breakdown in confidence, in perhaps knowing that their identities will be protected forward. And that's something that we need to work on as a community.
Thank you. Ms. Barley.
Yes, hi. I have two ideas that I came up with: policing your own area, creating a scholarship program to help individuals, the youth that wants to become police officers. And also, I wanted to bring back the Do the Right Thing program back into Miami-Dade County.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Burke?
Yes. Yes, thank you. Unlike anybody on this panel, I spent close to 20 years on the street with the City of Miami Police Department. I started my career at 18 years old. And what I see now, there's a communication problem between the police and people in the community. The best thing that happened for me when I got out of the police academy was I was stuck in in the section called Little Havana, I was outside my comfort zone. And I learned to speak Spanish, and I learned to read body language quickly at 18 years old. And I think today, the police today, because I have family members who are police officers, sons, cousins. My uncle was a police officer with the city of Miami, so I come from a police family. And one of the biggest things I see is that they can't read body language, and they have no idea how to communicate. And that's with young officers and people in the community. Not everything is social media. People can't read people's body language. And I understand the idea of policing where you live, but I also believe that if a police officer is hired, he should be able to work in any community, because I know I was flexible enough to do that. So I've been there. I've spent, like I said, I worked in various units, from patrol to robbery to homicide to narcotics to public information. So I understand how the police department should run within the community.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Pinellas?
Nancy, so the question was broad about criminal justice, specifically about profiling in guns. Let me just mention a third issue, which is important, and that's mental health. We have a serious mental health issue in this community, and our criminal justice system, Miami-Dade County Corrections, is, listen to this carefully, the largest provider of psychiatric care in the state of Florida. Okay, that's unacceptable. Folks who need help with mental health should not be in our jails. They should be receiving the help in an appropriate setting. Profiling, I don't support in any fashion. Let me talk about guns quickly. Shortly after I was elected mayor, Rakaya Isaac, and you may remember her, Nancy, was shot and killed on her way home from the Martin Luther King parade. I believe it was January of 1998. And therein began my quest to provide more gun safety in this community. I sued gun manufacturers because we knew there were technologies for trigger locks. I closed the gun show loophole, which was one of the last remaining local items that we could pass before preemption. But we're seeing that we still have a significant issue with gun violence. In spite of everything that's been said on this panel, we continue to have a serious problem. We should be ashamed of ourselves, of the fact that if you are a young Black male in certain communities in Miami-Dade County, your life expectancy is that much shorter. We should all be ashamed of ourselves, irrespective of where we live. And that's why it's one of the main pillars of my run for mayor, which is to deal with gun violence. And much like I invested significant resources in the late 90s on the robbery intervention detail, the tactical narcotics teams, which lowered violent crime in this community significant to all-time lows, we need to make real investment. But it's not just about money, and it's not just about police. We need to involve families. We need to involve our churches and our community-based organizations.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Levine Cava.
Thank you, Nancy. My whole career has been about lifting children and families up and creating opportunities. That's what I've always fought for. Ran the Guardian Ad Litem program, started Catalyst Miami, did everything that I could to bring economic opportunity to those who are suffering. And Miami-Dade County is not taking this divide seriously. We need to have a real dedicated office that deals with these disparities. We cannot afford to discount whole communities and populations. And children are the ones, obviously we all say they're our future, but if we don't provide them those opportunities from an early age, if we don't support families, if we don't have programs and communities and neighborhoods to lift them up, then there are oftentimes no real options for these kids. So prevention starts at home, it starts young, but it's coupled with very serious bias in our society that has endured for generations. Implicit bias, it's a scientifically proven fact that there's reasons that come, and we have some good training programs to help our police officers to deal with, it takes constant revision. So I will double down on gun trace. I have a gun trace study legislation that's moved forward. Our community relations board has, through the work that I've done, bringing them together with the police department, been actively engaged in communities where there is violence. And I will do everything in my power to invest in these communities and change the tide. It's not okay that it took a pandemic to stop shootings in the city of Miami for a month and a half.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comes from a foundation partner, and also a similar question from Miami resident Dave Dobler. So I squished them together. Given the obvious environmental improvements in Biscayne Bay water quality and air quality during the COVID-19 pandemic, it seems like a great time to look at how Miami-Dade can improve environmental controls. Are you prepared to lead and make tough decisions and enforce regulations that might affect the rate of development and force developers to do better and pay for needed infrastructure, especially to combat sea level rise? Commissioner Suarez.
In the effort to raise money for this election, I've realized that I stepped on a lot of feet out there of major developers, and I'm not receiving a lot of money from many of them. I voted against the NAR many times, the folks with the charter schools many times on rezoning. Holding the line on development, excessive development, is very important, and I think certainly many of us that are running, some of us that are running for mayor have done that. Some others not as much. One other thing that is very important for the environment is we really should have fully renewable energy in all of the housing that we subsidize. Commissioner Levine Cava introduced legislation that was somewhat in that direction, but maybe not sufficiently. She called for a study of that. My legislation says require all subsidized housing to have solar energy, so that people don't, very important for affordable housing, people don't have to pay the utility costs in a state that has all the sunshine that we've got. I've been monitoring sea level rise very, very carefully, and I put forth position papers on it, and initiated a grant to the University of Florida International University for $1.6 million. The results should be coming back very soon, and we'll have those projections for the general public soon.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Barley?
My take on sea level rising and the environmental health, basically, again, I'm not an expert in that area, so I will work closely with the experts so they can help me come up with a better solution to create a better environment for Miami-Dade County residents.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Dumond?
Definitely. As far as our environment, we need to be able to know that in the future others can live in our county and not have to deal with, I guess we kind of have to deal with covering our nose now from this point on, but having to deal with our environment and understanding, as well as sea level rising. As I look in the Aventura area, if it rains for one day, that place is completely flooded because it was built on swamp. And so there was a failure, and now we need to move forward. And as a leader and as a mayor, I'd like to be able to work with the experts and see how we can move forward, because we could do the blame game and we can constantly say it's this person, as I noticed that some of the leaders on this forum are doing. But there come a time that we take responsibility for what we've done. And at this point, there's been a mistake with how, as far as the county was built, as well as our sea level rising. So definitely, I would be working with the experts to see what we can do to move forward and to make this a better environment for us.
Very much. Mr. Pinellas?
Nancy, I think that question underscores another threat, another issue directly related to the pandemic, and that is, as we deal with this crisis, are we all of a sudden going to lose sight of all the issues that we were dealing with 2 months ago? We can't. Whoever the new mayor is has to have the ability to deal with the crisis and deal with the very real challenges that had presented us, but not lose sight of all the crises and challenges that we faced in the past, including the need for environmental investment, dealing with climate change and sea rise, investing in mobility, investing in public places. The recent Resilient 305 study very clearly laid it out. And there are significant shocks that we have in this community that we need to address in spite of the stress that we're dealing with right now. The pandemic obviously is a stress. The shocks have been there and will continue to be there. So, and it's not just the environment, and it's not just climate change. We have a failing water and sewer infrastructure. We have a significant amount of properties in this community still on septic tanks. Not a good, it's a recipe for disaster. As seas rise, you have septic tanks. I don't need to tell you what's going to happen. We have a water treatment plant literally on the banks of Biscayne Bay. These are real challenges. And we've been kicking the can down the road. That's kind of the theme of this debate today. It's how many things can we kick down the road, because that's what's been happening over the last decade and a half. A lot of excuses and a lot of talk, but there hasn't been action on these very issues.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Burke? Okay. Commissioner Cava?
First of all, thanks, Dave, for the question. And nobody does more than Dave Dobler to make sure that we have a clean environment. So I'm with you on the front lines, Dave, whether it's picking up garbage or fighting for good legislation. So the federal government should have anticipated a pandemic, and we sure are anticipating that climate change is the disaster that's coming and that we must deal with. Time is running out. We need to act decisively with increased hurricane, rising seas, increased flooding, warmer temperatures. It's here. So when I came on the county commission, I saw a great void. This was not being taken seriously. And in short order, I became the water warrior. And I have been fighting diligently, mightily, for all of these environmental issues. And I brought together coalitions to get the job done. We became part of the Rockefeller 100 Cities Initiative. We hired a chief resilience officer, and we unanimously supported the Paris Climate Treaty after our president saw fit to withdraw our country from that. So I have been focusing on the kinds of things that will reduce carbon footprint. It turns out buildings are a major source of carbon. And for sure, Miami-Dade County buildings themselves are chief culprits. The study that I ordered, of course, took forever and is still not done. But just with what we have, we could save tens of millions of dollars by installing solar on county infrastructure. I've also mandated the electrification of our fleet, as well as creating electric vehicle infrastructure. And I personally have gone electric. So.
Okay, Commissioner, we're going to move on. Commissioner Bobo.
Thank you. As chairman, I was the first person that instituted the Chairman's Resiliency Committee. In essence, we made it a priority while chairman to address these issues. And it became quickly apparent to me that a lot of these conversations were many times in a vacuum, did not take into account the private sector. In other words, we're dictating to the private sector remedies that were in the long run going to cost us not only job and opportunities, but may have and would have caused economic chaos into our county. My approach has always been to do it in a more balanced way. A lot has been mentioned here, a lot of all valid issues, from our archaic water and sewer system, septic tank issues. The construction industry has to be more in line to making sure that our community is resilient long term. I go back to the issues of transportation as perhaps the key to making sure that we're resilient in the future. If we build smarter, if we build along transit corridors, we put less pressure on the UDB. We build smarter in a way where less vehicles have to be on the road. And it is our major contribution to lowering our carbon footprint. But we need to be extremely careful when we embrace policies that go to the extreme, that in the long run could cripple our economy and cripple opportunities in Miami-Dade County. Because what we don't want to do is then create a situation where in building moratoriums, where all of a sudden half of our population who lives off of the construction industry or the development industry, all of a sudden finds themselves without any kind of opportunities. But no doubt, if we want to be a city, a county of the future, 20, 30 years from now, these things need to be talked about and invested in now. And I think there's a lot of great ideas coming out of the private sector that are right in line with making sure that we could build and do it in a smart way long term that also respects the delicate balance between our shoreline, beach renourishment, and obviously the Everglades. These are two economic engines in our county that if we do not protect at all costs, then there will be no Miami-Dade County. I mean, let's face it, with no beach, there is no Miami-Dade County.
Thank you very much. Well, I have a ton of other questions, but we are almost out of time. And so I am going to now turn the mics over to you for your closing statements. I ask that you please take about a minute, a little more than a minute, not much more, to really make the case for your candidacy for this all-important office in Miami-Dade County. And I'm going to start with Ms. Dumont.
Thank you once again. So in closing, I'd like to thank Miami Foundation as well as the residents of Miami-Dade County. As a leader doesn't make excuses. And thus far, I've heard a lot of excuses on this forum. But definitely, I look forward to work with those that are on this forum in the future to make Miami-Dade County better. One of our concerns for the residents of Miami-Dade, and they've expressed their concerns, is definitely transportation, affordable housing, increasing our living wages, and making sure that the residents of Miami-Dade County are included in the judicial system where the police department will work with the community. I'm looking forward to work side by side with every single resident in Miami-Dade County to make sure this happens. Yes, I'm fresh blood, young blood. Miami-Dade County needs that. Because sometimes what we do is when we've been in a position for too long, we can't see farther than our eyes. I'm ready to take Miami-Dade County forward. And I look forward and I ask the residents of Miami-Dade County to consider me to be your next mayor.
Thank you very much.
Barley. You said me? Said Barley?
Yes, Ms. Barley, this is your closing statement, just asking you to make the case for your candidacy to the voters who are watching.
Oh, okay. If you're looking for a great leadership, someone with fresh ideas, fresh minds, someone that understands budget, accounting, input and output, and someone who would not leave out the African-American community, remember when you cast your vote in, remember to vote for Monique Nicole Barley. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burke, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm having, these mountains are really hurting me.
I'm about to wrap up.
I'd like to thank them. I'm out here out west in the mountains out here in California.
Understood.
I'd like to thank the Miami Foundation for giving me this opportunity. I have never been a career politician. I'm new to this, but there are two things about me that I do know. I will represent all of the people of Miami-Dade, and I would not only represent them with honesty and fairness, I would make sure that everybody is included. And I thank you for this unique opportunity.
Thank you for participating. Commissioner Suarez.
First on mute. I tried really, really hard not to be facetious about something one of my opponents said, but I can't help but quote when Mr. Pinella said that he has zero interest in returning to a political career. So I am going to grant that wish. I'm going to make sure he loses on August 18th and he can go back to the private sector. The fact of the matter is we have people running for public office. Some of my colleagues on the commission, they're great people, you know, but the road to hell was paved with good intentions, as the saying goes. They voted with Mayor Jimenez every single year that he misused monies from the CITT, from the half cent, for operations instead of to build a system of mass transit that people had approved. And at the very last moment, the very last budget, one of them, I believe it was Bogle, initially voted against and then voted for the budget, and Daniela did the opposite, you know. But either way, they basically stood with the mayor all these years where the money was being misspent. So they're business as usual. And as far as Pinellas, he invented business as usual. He's the one that started the procurement system that lends itself to cronyism, all these negotiated bids that make no sense whatsoever, giveaways to the sports franchises, and bloated bureaucracies. None of these folks have done anything to stop the misspending of money by the county. Believe me, folks, we have $9 billion. It's going to be a little bit less next year, but if we have a mayor who knows how to manage the county, like I did the city of Miami when I took it from a $200 million underfunding of our pension systems to perfect 100% no deficit. And when I brought the city of Miami from a city that was called Paradise Lost to a city that got all the sports franchises and a city that built 2 substations, mini stations, built affordable housing, I can do it. And I have done it at least in one case. And I forgot to mention it in connection with your question about police community relations.
You do have to.
Jobs program that started at 0, and I made it 2,700 jobs for youth in the summer.
Thank you. Mr. Pinellas.
Thank you, Nancy, to you and to the foundation. You know, we're sitting here today in the midst of an unprecedented crisis. The last few months have been devastating for our families, our neighbors, our friends. I've seen it. I've seen it out there in the community, and I get it. And I also know that people are asking themselves a very basic question. Am I going to be okay? I know they're asking that question. So be assured that as I did so many times before, I will stand there with you and walk together with you through a recovery that lifts up everyone in this community. But at the same time, the importance of addressing the issues that we were focused on a few months ago, that hasn't gone away, Nancy. And for that reason, we must not lose our collective focus on really creating a more resilient and inclusive community, even as we respond to this threat. You know, whether it was my work on the We Will Rebuild campaign after Hurricane Andrew, or addressing rampant crime rates, corruption, and homelessness in the mid-90s, creating universal pre-K in the early 2000s, or managing 22 storms like I did, or even addressing the aftermath of 9/11 as mayor, what all of those responses had in common was my commitment to the principle of bringing residents, government, private business, universities, and community organizations together from every corner of this community to advance important initiatives. But I always put the community voice at the center of every one of our strategies. And that same principle will be my guiding light in responding to this crisis. We have always overcome adversity stronger and more united than ever. And with the right leadership at the helm of Miami-Dade County, I am confident that this time will be no different. Thank you for having me this evening.
You're welcome. Commissioner Levine Cava.
Well, thanks again to the Miami Foundation, to you, Nancy, the Miami Herald, and to all of our viewers, and to the residents of Miami-Dade County who are doing so much to pull together in this incredible time. And our businesses, the burden is on you. We know, and we're here for you. I will stand with you. I will fight stronger. I will fight harder than ever to get you back and to weather this storm. This election is clearly about a choice between the past and the future. Do you want more of the same, or are you ready for some needed change? Do you believe in the politics of yesterday, or am I your candidate? I have for 40 years led organizations, large and small, throughout Miami-Dade County. I've earned the trust of voters because I've kept my promise each and every day to lead with integrity, vision, and results. We've collected over 20,000 signatures from throughout this county from people saying they want me to be on the ballot to be their next mayor. And this is not about me. This is about them. This is about you, and it's about your future. So I'm the newest politician on the stage. Some others not yet politicians, but my record of getting stuff done runs deep over 40 years in this community. I led the charge on getting the county's living wage passed in 1999. And when I saw that voters were losing trust in local government, I did the unthinkable and I ran against a powerful incumbent. I defied all the odds and I won. And because of that victory, we were able to pass an expanded and inclusive human rights ordinance. And we have taken on numerous reforms Since then, we've increased transparency in county government. We've spearheaded efforts to protect our environment, and we've made transit and mobility real priorities for county government. I've been proud to bring stakeholders together, just like I've done throughout my career, nonprofits, businesses, residents, to work together to solve these difficult problems. That's why over 50 leaders have joined in endorsing me, 2 national organizations, 2 state organizations, and many local ones, and they all know that I'm ready to lead. If you're ready for clear vision, if you're excited about history making this moment, I ask you to please support me on August 18th. Thank you.
We are trying to be fair here. Commissioner Bobo?
Thank you, Nancy. And I first and foremost, I want to thank the foundation for putting this forum together. I think we should acknowledge the residents of Miami-Dade County. We have gone through an unprecedented situation, not only our county, in our nation, where a manual on how to recover has never been written. And we've all been writing it together. And I applaud all those that have been out there in the front lines trying to help out and making sure that families in our community are fed, are taken care of. We've been doing it now for 60 days in our community. From day one, we have been boots on the ground, helping in our community. And that's really the reason why I got involved in public service. As the only conservative running, the only fiscal conservative running for mayor of Miami-Dade County, I would tell you that you will have transparency. You will have someone who will be the guardian of the public trough to make sure that property owners and business owners' money is being spent in the wisest of ways. There are times I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone kind of situation here, where I hear one candidate talk about all the things he did in the 90s, yet gloss over the cronyism, the insider dealings that we had to deal with that gave such a bad taste in everybody's mouth that we had to literally elect a police director after the 8 years of Alex Pinellas for the bad situation that he left our county in. And let's be mindful, okay? He didn't balance anything. It was a manager that balanced it because he wasn't an administrative mayor. And I hear my good friend and colleague, Commissioner Suarez, talk now about free stuff for everybody. I don't know how and when he became Bernie Sanders, but this is a danger that we're seeing in our county. We are slowly slipping into a situation where the taxpayer is the last person. There were no questions here today on how to protect the taxpayers' money, how to invest wisely the taxpayers' money. In other words, all we were talking about is different ways how to spend more money that ultimately is going to lead this community into becoming another New York, another San Francisco, another Chicago. And sadly, the last time I checked, and I was born in New York, more people are leaving those areas for other places because the tax burden and the regulations have crushed them. We need to get back to basics. People pay taxes, expect services, police, fire, water, and sewer. These are the core services that they expect. And I, as your mayor, will not only guarantee that that will become our priority, but I will make sure that our taxes are spent always in the wisest way. Thank you.
We are over time and we do have to wrap up. I really appreciate all 7 of these candidates sharing their views, sharing their vision, sharing their experience with more than 700 community members for this, the very first Our Miami People's Forum. And I want to thank you. I'm Nancy Ankrum. I'm the editorial page editor of the Miami Herald. And I can guarantee we will all be talking again. Take care. Bye-bye.